We finally finished inventory, and right now we're just going to do some errands for a little bit. We've been behind the computer screen for a while, and we needed to take a break. So something we were just talking about, we're listening to this podcast about small businesses, and we were just talking about how people can struggle a lot of times with trying to find something that's original when you are starting a candle business specifically. I know that it's something, when I first started my business, was something that was difficult to try to figure out something that was completely original that I have not seen before, and was also something I was passionate about at the same time, so I wouldn't get bored with it or have someone else try to take over the idea. Like, I had the idea of the audible candle, and I didn't know how to make it my own. I didn't want to do someone else's work. I know, like, I've seen some people do things like, the Taylor Swift candles or whatever. I didn't want to steal anyone else's work. I wanted to make it completely something that was mine. And I wanted to make sure that it was something I could make plenty of at any point in time. So some people may not know this, but I do love creative writing. So that's something that I wanted to incorporate as a passion of mine, in addition to using it with the candles. And that's how I came up with the concept of the audible candle. So do you have anything you want to add, Adam? Or?
No, you're doing good.
So that's how I came up with the concept of the audible candle, was just trying to figure out my niche and where that belongs. And then I decided to make literary-based candles. Literature-based candles.
Literature.
I wanted to make literature-based candles, yes.
That's one of those words.
So those were inspired by dead poets. That's how I started with the Dead Poet Society. That was the first candle line that I actually made. And I think my advice would be to anyone who is looking to trying to figure out what they want to do for their candle business, that's something that's unique to you, that's not already saturated, because the candle industry is very saturated, but you have to find a way to stand out. It doesn't mean you don't need to start a business, because you still can. Even though I recently started mine, I don't have a lot of followers. Right now, I'm trying to still figure out how to make a good amount of sales daily so that I don't have to work full-time as a social worker. As many of you know, I am a full-time school social worker, and I have more time now to film and put time into the business now that the summer is really laid back, because I work at a school. So once the school year picks up again, I know it's going to look very different with running and operating the business, as well as trying to run the business, work full time, and I have 2 kids. So it's going to be challenging.
Busy mom life. Yeah,
busy mom life. I'm trying to figure out ways to still stand out. I'm going to focus on the wholesale more and doing markets. And when the individual sales come in for retail, that's great. There's going to be times, I know, when individual sales don't always come in, but I will be relying on my other sources of income. What me and Adam did, we just sat down and we wrote down like 14 different streams of income that we could potentially make during our time having the candle business. Right now, we don't make 14 streams of income.
Yeah.
But that is our ultimate goal, is to get to something that we want in the end. So we're thinking with the end in mind of where we ultimately want to be. Ultimately, one day we would love to have a storefront. We want to have these 14 streams of income. We want to be able to not have to work full time and still operate a candle business. We want to be able to take care of the kids without having to also split ourselves in half, basically, if we're doing multiple things. And I don't want to put more energy into my job and not my business, and seeing my business just shrinking like at the beginning of the year. So I launched my business in January. That was when it was technically officially established legally. And then everything,
which is really a relaunch.
Yeah, it's basically been a relaunch recently, because after I officially became an LLC in January of this year, that was when, like shortly after that, we had to move to a whole different town. And then I was also working full time still at the school. And I was recovering from knee surgery, and there was a bunch of other stuff. My daughter was playing basketball. There was a lot. There was a lot going on. I was not putting time into the business from like February until like last month, right? Like until like last month, I put no energy into the business. So like, I basically started to be like, you know what? If I want this to work, I have to do what I have to do. So that's when I filmed that first video you guys saw of me talking about getting my zoning permit, because I was like, I'm not going to be able to sell anything in this town without a zoning permit. So I got all my ducks in order. Mm-hmm. I changed the insurance for our new town. I had to get everything reorganized. Start actually posting on social media, start actually engaging with customers and other businesses. And I spoke to the mayor of our new town. We're considering also getting on the Chamber of Commerce for all of the, not considering, we're definitely going to do it. We're going to get in the Chamber of Commerce for our area. Different ways that we could be involved. We've been having a lot of like small business meetings that I don't record, but it's basically our way of trying to figure out how we can progress our business further along, and so that we can see the things that we want to see ultimately in the end, and having goals in mind of where we want to be, like by the end of the year. Like what I was doing recently, I think one of the videos I posted, I was on my computer doing things. I was working on the catalog for wholesale, in addition to following up with a lot of emails for people who have markets in this area and getting signed up for that, paying for those markets, even though right now I don't have a profit, but still figuring out how to pay for everything that is going to be eventually making money for this business.
Yeah,
so
you gotta spend money to make
exactly,
money.
You got to spend money to make money. And I do want to make a video where I'm showing you guys all of the things that I use inside of my studio to make the business work for me. All of the equipment I use, my digiboil, how I do everything. Even though I feel like I haven't been in business a long time, I do have a good head on my shoulders. I do have that social work background. I've been a social worker since I graduated 2014. I also have my master's degree that I graduated with that in 2020. I focused on political social work. I've done counseling. I've done groups. I've done individual. I work with adults. I work with homeless people. I work with people with substance abuse. I work with so many different populations of people. I know a lot of resources. So I'm able to do things to help other people, consult other people through really challenging situations. So that's another part that I do like to incorporate with my business. And I haven't figured out exactly how to do that exactly, but that is a skill set that I do have. I'll probably come up with another video later once I figure out how to involve my skill set from college with my small business. So just keep an eye out for that in the future, for future videos. What is that car?
I don't know.
That is crazy. I see a car. I don't even know what that is. It looks like they made it in their garage. It looks like the car from Little Rascals.
You should flip
when they were racing.
Around. Can they see
I'm gonna
that?
flip it around. I don't know. It reminds me of the car from Little Rascals. Anyway, so we're trying to do everything that we need to do to become where we ultimately would like to be, where our desire is to be. There is
growth in the mindset.
Yes,
right?
it's a growth mindset versus having a fixed mindset of thinking, oh, I'm only a social worker. I remember, a little fun fact, fun story, not really, it's not really not that funny. But anyway, a little thing about me is I did have another candle business previously during 2020. I have only had it for like 1 year. I shut it down because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea how to do bookkeeping. I only went to one market. Most of my sales were online. I had an Etsy shop, I had a Shopify, and I had no idea how to do marketing. I had no idea how ads worked. I remember putting ads out there, spending a lot of money, but not seeing anything in return. I remember getting a lot of criticism from people who didn't own a business themselves, that also never had a handmade product themselves, but also felt as though they wanted to criticize every little thing that I was doing, which of course messes with your self-esteem when you're a small business owner and you're not sure and you're like, trying to figure it out for the first time. And I'm sure some of you can probably relate to that. So that was something that discouraged me a lot. And then I just ended up closing the business at the end of 2020. And I just didn't want to do it. So I was just like, at that point, I was like, let me just focus on my social work degree. And I started working in social work again. And honestly, it's not something I'm passionate about, but it was my backup plan. And I remember being told a lot, like, if that's your backup plan, you should focus on your backup plan if the first plan didn't work fairly quickly. But I don't think I gave my first plan, which is to be a small business owner, I don't think I gave it enough energy to see if it's something that could even work long term versus just giving up on it. So I want to give it my all this time. I feel like I'm glad I took the amount of time I did to take a break from posting on social media, from doing anything for the business after I moved to this new town, so that I could figure out where my headspace was. And now that the school year is over, I'm able to really get systems involved with the business. I'm able to figure out, but we have also the new place that we moved into, we have an extra bedroom that we turned into a studio, which is really nice because I didn't have that where I lived before. So it's nice to have a dedicated space that you can use for not only writing off things on your taxes, but also to have a dedicated space for making your product and to make it your office and to make it where you do all of your creative things. It makes it so much easier when you have it that way. So I'm going to let you guys know that I do believe that you can make a difference. I do believe that you can find your niche and figure out a way to be original. I strongly recommend, though, if you're going to find a way to be original, that you find something you're passionate about, not just anything like, oh, dessert candles are selling. Yeah, do some soul searching. Because for me, the Audible candle idea came from when I was trying to figure out what was missing in my life. I used to love creative writing. On my website, you will see there's a poetry book that I self-published when I was 19 years old. I have only 24 copies left of it, and I'm going to sell those copies. And I'm trying to, I'm at this point where I'm like, Cynthia, bring that confidence back, bring back your creative visionary self, who you were, do all of those creative writing things that you did before. I have a background in singing. Like, there's certain things that I want to bring to this business that help me remind me of who I was and helps me have an identity in who I am outside of being a mom, outside of being a social worker, and just being me. And that's ultimately what I want my business to do, is to feed my inner monster, I guess. I don't know how else to put it, but that's what I ultimately would like to have. So do some soul searching, find out what you're going to do, what brings you passion, what brings you life, and put that into your small business.
So how as a busy mom with 2 kids that are still younger, not fully able to take care of themselves by themselves, how do you find time for the business? We were talking about schedules and routines and systems.
Yeah.
And so expound on what you're saying, how expectations and stuff for kids.
Yeah, so what I did to prepare for, because I know some people are probably going to ask, how do you start a small business when you're working full time as a working mom? I have 2 kids, right? So what I did 2 years prior to even launching this business was my focus was getting my kids on a system and on a routine for before school, after school, days when there is no school. It's literally so much planning and organizing for everything.
Guys,
and
they want stuff every minute.
Everything.
They want
and
entertainment.
And try to get them
food.
as independent as possible for everything. And also, communication is a big part of it. So I like to communicate with my kids. I don't like to let them not know what's going on and be like, okay, get in the car now, we have to go. I don't like to do. I tell them ahead of time every morning and the night before. I'm like, okay, so tomorrow we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then after that we're going to eat lunch, and then this we're going to do that. Especially in the summertime or even in the school year, I do this all the time. It's just a part of the way I operate. It's part of my system, is knowing. Why are you laughing?
Because Riley's back there.
Oh,
he's just talking.
Part of the system, right, Riley? It's part of the system, right? I let you guys know, she's making a face, but I let you guys know what is happening before it happens so that you know what to expect, communicating very clear and realistic expectations and goals, and setting the standard for my kids of what I am expecting and why they should do it long term. I don't just tell them to do something just because I used to hate that. Because I said so. Sometimes it gets to that point. Let's be real. Sometimes it gets to the point where you're I said it 5 times.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
You do it because I said it, and that is why. We talked about this 10 times.
The generation that brought us up where it was just don't ask questions, just go along with everything.
Yeah.
And you weren't allowed to have an opinion.
No, yeah.
Or ask, where are we going? What's going on?
But that's why we do family meetings a lot. So a lot of times it's this is what's going to happen this week. Especially when there's a transition in our lives, when we move to this new town. They're starting a new school in the fall, so prepping things ahead of time, letting them know, okay, you're going to be going to camp. When you go to camp, you're going to be a lot of new kids. Does anyone have any questions about anxiety? I am a social worker too, so I like to talk to my kids a lot about processing their feelings, and it's okay to feel all the feelings you feel. Your feelings are valid, even if other people are making your opinion feel like it doesn't matter. Your feelings are valid all the time. I think it's important to validate kids and to listen to them, and to tell them why you have to do certain things, why the expectation is set the way it is, why is the standard this way, what type of adult am I going to end up raising later on, why do I want to raise an adult? I know it's
so
deep,
you were saying plan with the end in mind,
literally
right?
I start everything, I plan with the end in mind for
kids,
so many things. Yeah, especially with kids.
If
you want your kids to be a certain type of way as an adult, you have to start raising them that way
now,
when they're kids,
yeah,
and explaining why you do things the way you do things.
plant
Why
those
you
seeds
think,
early.
exactly. Why do you think the way you think? Why do you do things the way you do things? Don't just say shut up, or like I don't have time for that, or like stop questioning me. Like I know a lot of adults might say that out of frustration. There might be anxiety. Maybe you don't even know the answer yourself. You're stressed out. You're anxious. Whatever. All those things. I understand that, but I realize when you have a household, it's so much easier to
take the extra time
to be on the same page with everyone.
Yeah,
it alleviates a lot of anxiety. It helps to create a nice, smooth system for the household. It helps to make the routines go easier.
Yeah,
everyone knows what to expect. There's less anxiety going on. It's been the last 2 years of my life, and it's been an extreme game changer since we have started that.
As it turns out, like if a kid is like more unregulated, it'll actually drive you more crazy, and you won't be able to get anything done.
Yeah.
If you actually take the time to actually get everybody on the same page, you actually get what you want easier.
Yeah. And right now, Lucas wants attention, right, Lucas?
Yeah.
That's why he was completely quiet the whole time until he found out I was recording. And then he's like, wait, I want to be part of this.
Are you talking about me? Yes.
Do you want to say something, Lucas?
You're famous.
Okay. So that's it for now. So right now we're just driving to figure out some things for switching banks for the business and stuff like that. So that's
hard adulting.
What we're doing. We were just talking about also like budgeting for the business and making plans for the business, and what are some things that we want to ultimately do and end up long term. And then it led to this conversation with because I'm having an interview, a live interview. I forgot to tell you guys, I'm having a live interview on Wednesday, July 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be on YouTube and a bunch of other channels, but that is probably most likely going to be one of the questions that is addressed inside of the interview. And it's a question that's pretty deep. Like, it's something where I believe a lot of people don't want to do all these extra things. I guess everyone was driving too slow. Someone just drove over like a half a mile to get ahead of everyone else. Hopefully they didn't get in a car accident. But that was a choice they made. Anyway.
Some people don't have time.
Yeah. So I think planning with the end in mind. I think that's like the nugget of this clip, this segment right now. Is just think about what you want ultimately at the end, and what do you need to do to end up where you want to be. Starting with, even before you even start a business, maybe it might be getting your household under wraps. Maybe it's learning how to budget properly. Maybe it's learning about marketing and advertising. Maybe it's learning more about social media or SEO, or maybe it's learning about what you can do to maintain your sanity, or your self-care routines, or your own mental health. Maybe there's other things you need to get in order before you even start a business, so that you have a system and a routine for everything in your life. So when you do have to spend so much time on your business, you don't feel like you're taking away from other areas of your life, because you already have those areas down packed. If that makes sense. I can elaborate more on this in other videos. It's a very deep, complicated concept.
I think that sometimes people want to just have a business roll out instantly be successful, and maybe they forget to take a few steps back and plan a little bit harder, and like you said, just think with the end in mind. Sometimes you get so caught up in trying to just get something working, you can't see
you want to get it off the ground
here and 10 years down the road.
It's exciting too. So it's very exciting to know what you want to do and to get where you want to get later on. So I understand. Here you go, honey. I understand why people want to just get off the ground running with their business. It's exciting. You don't want to wait. You're like, I just want to get started. But just keep those things in mind. You know, you don't have to do what I'm saying. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. Maybe it'll work great for you. But this is just some advice that I would give to people who are seeking the answer to how do you manage working full-time as a parent, whether a father or a mother, as well as starting a business.
Trying to be an entrepreneur.
Trying to be either an entrepreneur or being a small business owner like myself. So if you have any questions,
very different. You're right.
They're not the same thing.
Entrepreneur could be like, I wash cars and I don't have a job or anything going on.
Different. I notice a lot of people use them interchangeably. They'll just say, I'm an entrepreneur / small. They're not the same. I'm a small business owner. I'm not an entrepreneur. But so that's it. I think that's all for this segment. Keep watching. We're gonna get more clips this week. So yes.